What, you have a podcast?
Really?
Computer, show the historical documents.
It's just time for a theocratic monarchy. King Trump, for life. Let's go.
I said, no, Sean, I'm going to be a dictator. I said that.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Recovery from Politics Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Frame, and today is Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. I'm really having a hard time figuring out what is so hard about all of this, specifically how to cover Donald Trump. It is 2024. We've had 8 years to figure this out, and nobody knows how to do it. A lot of it is some of the ridiculous takes from otherwise intelligent people. I may not agree with them all the time, but I acknowledge their intelligence, their expertise in the area. Like, these are political gurus or they're lawyers who understand the law and the Constitution, and they have bona fides, and between them all, decades and decades of experience doing this kind of thing, talking about even authoritarians and tyrants and all kinds of manner of government people, and still they screw it up. So over the weekend, Trump had a lot to say, and he said, basically, for abortion, that he would let the states decide. If a state wants to go full ban, he's okay with it. If a state like California doesn't, he's okay with that too. He says he's going to let the states decide, which, to be fair, is what I thought the whole thing was. I mean, a lot of people said, oh, the Supreme Court didn't ban abortion. They're just letting the states decide. So Trump's agreeing with the Supreme Court that he essentially set up to do this very thing. Okay. Now, the left is pointing out, holy shit, you could be in a state that completely bans abortion, right? And again, Trump didn't put any caveats on there. There's no exceptions for rape or incest, or what if the woman voluntarily, with her own money and time off from work, with the support of her family and friends, leaves the state and goes to a state that allows the abortion. Is she allowed to be arrested upon returning home? Can Alabama send marshals to California to arrest her, to take down her family, to sue her? Because remember, we still have this law that hasn't quite been decided, but is on the books in Texas regarding the whole, if you help a woman get an abortion, you're liable up to $10,000. There is a bounty in Texas. It's not in effect, or at least it hasn't been brought up yet, but it's still winding its way through the courts. We could end up in a very interesting situation there. But Trump didn't say anything about that. He said he wants the states to decide. And of course, last week he was like, oh, abortion's horrible. And some weeks he's like, I made the Supreme Court do this, and look how great I am. I got rid of Roe. I'm so awesome. And then other weeks, like this week, he's like, I'll let the states decide. If some states want it and some states don't, meh. And the left is pointing out the hypocrisy, right? They're pointing out the wobble. And they're also like, you could end up in a bad state. Also bad. But this isn't new news, so I don't know what the left is really doing. Like, Trump flops on everything. He did it with vaccines. He was very pro-vaccine until the vaccine came out, and then all those anti-vaxxers got up his ass, and he saw the divide. He saw Florida say, no, you don't have to be vaccinated, fuck the mask, you can go out and do whatever. And then you had California that was like, everything's shut down, fuck you, mask up, and as soon as the vaccine's here, you're gonna get it. So he waited until he saw which way his base was going to blow. He saw that and was like, oh, now I'm anti-vax, which is ridiculous because a lot of people, even, fair-minded people who, like, if you could give Trump credit, or at least his administration, right? Because I don't think it was his idea. It was obviously the people within government who did it. The Operation Warp Speed, the thing that really pumped a lot of money and government rules out the window so that corporations could create the vaccines we needed to get out of COVID, right? He did that. He was president when it happened. His administration did that, right, wrong, whether you like him or not, that happened. Could any president have done it? Sure, but he was the one who did it. If you want to give him credit for it, it's there. Yet he won't even take credit for it because now he's on the anti-vax bandwagon. So it is kind of weird how the left wants to be like, aha, we've got him. He's a hypocrite. And it's like, fucking duh. Like, why is this news? Why? Like, the left knows, right? MSNBC doesn't have a lot of Republicans watching it. We assume everyone watching MSNBC or reads the New York Times or the Washington Post or listens to me. We already know he's a hypocrite. Like, what is one more thing on the pile going to do at this point? It's been 8 years of this bullshit. The man did an insurrection. Like, I don't know why the left is like screaming about this when it is something that is known. It's not going to be the thing that tips, a Republican into be like, I'm going to stay home this year. Like, that person has already made up their mind. If there is a Republican out there who, has voted Trump twice and is ready to go a third time, but is like, man, no. What I have heard was January 6th was the tipping point, right? You could have voted for Trump 2 times, and there are a lot of those people. And then January 6th happened, and you're like, whoa, oh, no, this is my red line. I'm not pro-insurrection. And there are people like that. The Bulwark has a podcast that does focus groups. It's the Focus Group podcast. I believe it's Sarah Longwell. She has those people on, and they do say that. They're like, I love him. I love his policies. I voted for the man twice. I hate Democrats. I mean, these are real hardcore MAGA people, but they drew the line at the insurrection. They're like, no. Attacking cops in a building, shitting on the walls, literally. Like, no, that's not. No. So I don't get it. I don't get the left on this. It's like, yeah, he is. Like I get him mentioning it because sure, he is running for president. He is in a statistical tie with Biden. What he says does matter. So yes, you report it, but it shouldn't be like the lead story of your hour and be like, oh my God, he's a hypocrite. Can you believe it? Like, yes, I can believe it very easily. In fact, it's a thing. It's been going on for a while. And then what the piece that really got me kind of like, are you fucking serious right now? Is David French. I don't think he did a piece, but he went on to Threads and he posted that true conservatives, who pro-life conservatives, and that's their issue, right? They should feel betrayed because the pro-life movement is very much, we want the entire nation to have a ban. And here's Trump saying he's going to let the states decide. Now, first off, if anyone's going to be calling anyone a hypocrite or anything, conservatives are fucking hypocrites. Because when it comes to the Second Amendment and all their bullshit, they have been screaming from the rafters, states' rights, states' rights, states' rights, the lost cause, civil war, states' rights, god damn it, that's what we want. Yet now, Trump is actually saying states' rights directly back to them, but it's about abortion. Fuck that, that is a betrayal of our principles. Fuck you, David French. Seriously, you're gonna act betrayed on this? No, thank you. Not just him, but anybody who thinks that this is betrayal. But also another thing that I do have to mention here, and this is the part that really drives me crazy, like, MAGA doesn't give a fuck. Seriously, if you're on the Trump train right now, if you are MAGA, if you would wear a red hat if you had one, or maybe you lived in a more accepting neighborhood and didn't feel like, yeah, hanging my flag up would get me in trouble. Like if you were real diehard MAGA, is anything he said gonna turn you off at this point? It doesn't matter. Trump could come out and say, I want to kill all babies and drink their blood. He could do that tomorrow. And MAGA will be like, ha, could you believe all those lefties? Look at all those liberal tears. Ha 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 ha. Because it doesn't matter. His policies don't fucking matter. Okay? His policies, every economist who is also not MAGA, but every economist worldwide says that if he was reelected and he enacted half the policies that he's suggesting when it comes to economics, he would tank and crater the American economy. Just absolutely destroy it. Right? Like there's no nothing. Like right now, Biden, good or bad, the economy, by all the traditional numbers, is doing extremely well. And everyone says, if you elect Trump and he actually enacts these policies that he is advocating right now, your economy will fucking crater. And that's also very important, because if the United States economy craters, the rest of the world follows. And I don't need to remind you, World War II was heavily predicated on the Great Depression. The entire world collapsed all at once. It created a perfect breeding ground for fascism and extremism to thrive. So if you want the economy to collapse, if you want to plunge this world into a perfect scenario to create World War III and to make people suddenly go, I didn't like Putin before, but man, at least Russia, they're all employed. Because we don't control the media that people can get these days. Governments are still going to be able to push out their misinformation. So it's just nuts. Like, the people that want MAGA don't care. There was a piece a long time ago. I mentioned it before. There are multiple people who are like, I wasn't going to vote for Trump, but you know what? The system's not working, and he's the only guy I think will destroy it. Like, there are people who are going to vote for Trump with the specific hope that the country will be destroyed. They want the entire system broken for whatever reason. Some people actually have very good reasons. Like, if you're a Native American or a descendant of slaves here in the United States, and you're like, fuck the United States government, I hope it collapses. Like, I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. You have a very compelling argument. Like, seriously, this government hasn't done shit for you. Why would you support it? Like those types of people I get, right? But it's the crazy people. The people who I define as crazy are, like me, straight white men, financially very secure, the guy in this article in particular was retired from a 6-figure job. He's got a huge McMansion. He's doing great. Absolutely fantastic. But he still wants to burn it all down. And I'm like, I don't get you. That makes no sense to me. And again, there are also these people on the left, socialists, the DSA, probably some communists, but the extremists on the left are just sitting there like, fuck yeah, burn it all down, and then maybe people will turn to communism or socialism or whatever. Hey, I would love that. I think we should give socialism a shot. That's just me. I am not affiliated with any party. I'm an independent socialist. If you want to, tag me as anything, tag me as that. I believe in equality, and maybe we should abolish poverty. Fuck me, right? Anyway, I do have to warn everyone, burning down the system does not necessarily work the way you think. There are a lot of variables that we don't know, we can't control. Who is most likely to pick up the pieces of a broken system and try to rebuild it in their image? It's not the Democratic Socialists of America right now. Hell, it's not even the Democratic Party. Okay? The socialists, the communists, even far-right MAGA, I don't think they're going to be able to. They're too disparate. They're too broken. They're not organized enough to really get this shit together. The Republicans like to think they are, but again, they're weak-willed. They're spineless cowards. They'll fall over with a stiff breeze. A good breeze will knock them over. I'm not worried about them. I think it would be the billionaire class, the corporations. They are in the best position to really reap the benefits if this system collapses. Because the only thing holding them back right now is the United States government. Right? And they've already got a lot of what they need to just completely fucking take over. They don't care if they take over slow incrementally the way they are now, or if it all collapses and they just take it over. But they're going to take it over. That's the trajectory we're on right now. And if you had to ask me, Kyle, if the system collapses tomorrow, if the president were removed from office, if Congress was disbanded, who would take over? Corporations. In a heartbeat. So, yeah, I don't get it. But the point is like, the conservatives, the Never Trump conservatives are like, you should be betrayed if you're pro-life, and you hear your candidates say this. And I'm like, dude, they don't care. It doesn't matter. They either want to burn it down, or, as some people have pointed out, the appeal of Trump is that he hates the same people they hate. Okay, there is a lot of hate out there. There are people who I'm pretty sure if I ran into in a dark alley would kill me strictly because I believe college should be free. I think healthcare should be a right. You know, I think gay people, LGBTQ plus, all of them across the board should be able to walk down the street wearing whatever the fuck they want, saying whatever the fuck they want, doing whatever the fuck they want. There are people who would kill me for that. Period. In this country, I have no doubt. If given means and opportunity, absolutely would take me out. I don't know about the other side. I surprisingly don't see the flip side of that coin. I don't see leftists like, you know what, we need to take out MAGA. Like, I don't hear that. I'm kind of surprised I don't hear that. I think I should hear that. Because quite frankly, knowing that there are people out there who do want to wish me harm, like the left doesn't, you never hear about, you know, Fox News receiving death threats from the left. You just don't hear about it. And I'm pretty sure if the left did that, Fox News would be reporting it en masse, constantly. Can you believe all the death threats Gutfield got after he made this comment? Like, I'm sure it would be a major story. But that's just not how the left is operating right now. I'm not saying they can't get there. You know, I do believe we're close to a tipping point. If the right, if MAGA does something over the line, I think the left can get mobilized very quickly. I have no doubt. The passion is there. It's just the will. And they don't have it right now. They don't need to. Long as the left keeps winning elections, you know, as long as the Democrats keep running things and the worst case scenario is a moderate Republican like a Mitt Romney, the left is not going to go to war. War is going to have to be brought to them. Now, again, that's the current setup. Things could change. But right now, the left isn't doing that. The other thing that Trump said this weekend is he wants immigrants from nice countries like Denmark and Switzerland. Those were his examples. Because he doesn't like immigrants from Mexico or Africa or anywhere else, you know, the quote-unquote shithole countries that he's talked about so often. Again, this is just veiled racism. And again, if you're supporting Trump at this point, this is known. Like, who doesn't think this man's racist? Only his own supporters. Everyone else knows it. And even some rational supporters. I guarantee you there are a few of those people you see in the polls, you know, Democrats are losing the African-American vote. What the fuck, right? And you're like, why would an African-American vote for Trump? That doesn't make much sense to me. Well, you know, I'm pretty sure you could find a few who even them were like, oh yeah, no, he's fucking racist as shit. But, you know, maybe they believe the capitalism thing, that we are actually in a meritocracy and it matters. You know, your boss actually did work their way up the hard way and had all these things thrown at him and had to climb up the exact same ladder as you and is just really good at it, you know. I'm sure that they exist. There are a lot of them. Hustle culture is a real thing. Gig culture. It's what we're doing right now. There are a lot of people, black, white, brown, yellow, doesn't matter, but there are a lot of fucking people online right now saying that, you know, the difference between you and them, because they're always doing great, is, oh, I worked hard, and when I was younger I worked weekends and I made myself available. There are a few people, even people who I agree with politically on most things, like Nick Wright. He's a sportscaster on Fox Sports, right? And I've heard him talk about how he came up. As first, he was a radio host, sports radio, where he was locally. And he even says, he's like, well, I became great at what I do because I made myself available. I worked weekends every chance I got. And eventually, the star show or the lead, whatever, they want to take vacation. They want to have a weekend off. And that's when he would slide in and be like the guest guy. And he would kick ass, take names. And all of a sudden, people would be like, hey, I like him. Let's give him his own show kind of a deal. And that makes sense. That's different, though. That is a very different situation. It's one thing to voluntarily work those hours. It's another thing to be forced to work those hours constantly. But yeah, we don't have a meritocracy in this country. For 99% of us, that just doesn't exist. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. But this idea that, immigrants, nice countries, Denmark, Switzerland. First off, we do have immigrants from those countries, but not in the numbers that we do from south of us. And the reason's very simple. Those are nice countries. Denmark, Switzerland, they have free healthcare. They have a social safety net. They have a lot going for them right now. Why would you leave it? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, he doesn't understand with immigration. No one really wants to come to the United States for freedom. Like, that's a very small amount of the people. There are people who do that, I'm sure, but like the majority of people only want to leave their home country because shit has gotten so bad. Most people, it's human nature. If you're in a comfortable situation, you don't want to leave, right? There are people who stay at shit jobs when they could put their resume out there and get a better one. But they don't because the shit job is comfortable. I know it. I know the people here. I've got my route from home to here figured out. I know the hours. I know everything. There's nothing new. I can't get shocked. Even though it's a crap job, they'll take it. Like, it took a famine to get the Irish to come the fuck over here. Like, they didn't want to leave. They were fine where they were. They ran out of food. They had a bit of a potato blight problem. That's the only reason they came here. They would have loved to have just stayed where their families had lived for generations. Where they had a connection to the land, the people, and the culture. Nobody wants to leave those things. Most of us, the vast majority of us. Yes, there's always that one, right, who's like, I want to see what's on the other side of that ocean. That's fine. Those people are fantastic. But there are a lot of people who are only here in this country because their ancestors, or maybe they themselves, were under seriously harsh conditions in their home country. They didn't come here because they wanted a leg up. They came here because they had to. That's the main point I think a lot of these people don't understand. Especially MAGA and Trump, they just assume that immigrants are criminals fleeing from prosecution. It's like, no, not every country's like us. And if they're fleeing from prosecution, you do have to question what kind of country they're running from. Because a lot of those people who are coming up here, like there was this attack once that I believe it was Nicaragua. And when Nicaragua, had a bloody coup that we helped, of course, because they were going socialist communist, their new government started killing the socialist communists. So all the socialist communists fled the country and tried to come to the United States. And the United States obviously doesn't like socialists and communists, so we had to vilify the fuck out of them. Now, I'm probably screwing up that story. Maybe it wasn't Nicaragua, that was just kind of off the cuff, but like that is basically what has happened before. The new government comes in. This is another reason I don't think you guys want a like revolution here in the United States. There's no guarantee the new government would exactly be peaceful. It's very possible that they would be like, okay, cool, the corporations are in charge. Corporations, enemy number one, socialists and communists. All right, let's find everybody who voted for Bernie and fucking kill them. Because, the only difference is, do they make it legal or not? They might. They might. Everything Hitler did in World War II was legal. Like that's something I think is very important. Like, he didn't break any laws. The Holocaust was 100% legit and legal. The court system backed it up. was approved. It was great. For him, it was entirely legal. And that's what we're seeing here. You've got Trump talking about concentration camps on the border. They will be legal. And that will be an argument for a lot of these MAGA and also these moderate right-wingers who are like, well, if they didn't want to come into the country, they can come into the country just legally. And they don't want to think about the system that holds them back. They don't want to think about any of that. All they do is hang their hats on, it's illegal, they're criminals. Because that's easy. That's a black and white issue. You don't have to think about the suffering that's going into it. And I think it's this genuine, like, they just don't understand MAGA. They really think that Trump saying racist shit and saying racist dog whistles is going to change the minds of anyone. They really think that Trump could get up there and talk about policy, any policy, and it's going to change a single mind. Lindsey Graham came out and said one of his policies that he's recently been stumping for was a bad idea. I guarantee you, if it gets close to the election, or if it's a few days after the election, and Trump ends up winning, Lindsey Graham is going to cozy right on up, and he's going to agree with him, because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. The voters do not care about policy. I don't even think they care about the issues. I think all they care about is my side's not running things. And I don't like the other side for reasons. And until Democrats and centrists and moderates and these never Trump conservatives like get that through their heads and really, really deeply understand, like, they just don't like being in fucking charge. That's all that is driving this. That's all this is. They want to be in charge. They don't feel like they are. You know, they don't understand the white man monolith. They just understand Republican, Democrat. Trump, non-Trump. So I don't know what's so hard about this. This is very simple. They really fucking hate me. They really fucking hate you. They really fucking hate a lot. That is driving 100% of this. But everyone still wants to, like, scream like their head's on fire every time Trump says something contradictory. That's who he is. It's not like he's been a beacon of stability this entire time. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again tomorrow.